Hello everyone, Larry here with the Farmstead Way, and I got a special guest today, my father-in-law, Larry Parker, aka Pastor Patch, and we're going to have a little bit of a cigar and coffee time out here in the bottom field, enjoying this nice summer afternoon. Just going to chit-chat for a little bit about pipes and cigars and some coffee, so thank you for coming on to the channel.
No problems. It's good here right now. We got a lot of breeze coming through, so it's pretty hot, but the breeze feels nice.
Yeah, the humidity was stupid earlier today. So I got a pipe, he's got a cigar. So what are you smoking today?
I am smoking the EP Carollo Maduro. It's part of their Essence line that they're coming out with. This past PCA, they released the Maduro and they released the Sumatra. So not a whole lot of people have this one. I actually won this on a contest, so but look out for it. It's so far I've only got just a little bit into it, but it is really a good smoky cigar. And so far I'm picking up dark chocolate, some hickory, and a little bit of pepper when I retrohale. So it's I'll be enjoying this cigar with y'all.
There you go. And we got some Tobacco Patch Maduro Blend coffee, which this is a cigar company that he actually, or not cigar company, this is a coffee company that he actually owns. He took the time to match up specific cigar wrapper types, Maduro, Robusta, that's a size.
Like Maduro, Sumatra, Corojo, we have Connecticut. So basically what I did is sitting out on my back porch with my dad, who recently passed away, but we were sitting out there and we were smoking our cigar and we were drinking coffee, and I was just looking through Instagram and stuff and just watching people just randomly have different coffees and bourbons and stuff and trying to make good matches. And I told my dad, I said, why don't we start trying to blend some blend some coffee that matches a cigar. And so we did it for about 3 months. We were testing out stuff. So that was a wild 3 months of drinking a lot of coffee, smoking a lot of cigars, trying to make everything match up right. But we've done it. We've been successful at it. So Tobacco Patch coffee. See, I got eye patch. So it's kind of play on words, Tobacco Patch, and I'm Tobacco Patch. So
yeah, and here's a fun picture of the bag. He's got a website. It's what, tobaccopatch.com?
Well, it's under Shopify, but if you go under Google and just type in Tobacco Patch coffee, it'll pull me up.
So this is the espresso blend. Right now we're actually drinking the Maduro blend, which should go really well with what you're smoking.
Good with my Maduro.
And obviously I got a pipe today, which I do enjoy cigars, but I decided to go with a pipe today. Smoking Peterson Flake Virginia pipe tobacco out of your dad's Peterson 999 St. Patrick's Day pipe.
Yeah, that was my dad was a cigar and pipe smoker. I really started smoking cigars in college, and I was part of a fraternity, and we would just go out every weekend or so and we would smoke cigars and talk and things. And then I got into pipe tobacco. I got to study over in Europe. I was in Austria, and over there we had pipes, and we ended up smoking those great big, long, big, Gandalf type pipes.
Style church warden pipe.
Yeah, the church wardens. And so I started smoking pipes over there, and then I just been smoking cigars ever since.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's because I never really grew up with pipes and cigars. I had a lot of cigarette smokers in my family. It was something I never thought I'd get into. And then this sounds kind of cliche, but with me, I remember I think we watched the Hobbit movies up at your house, and the scene where Thorin and all the dwarves, before they head off on their big adventure, are sitting in Bilbo's house at Bag End, and they're all smoking pipes. And I was like, that looks like something that'd be interesting to get into. And obviously, he had one, so I picked me up a can of Peterson Sherlock Holmes, which is now my favorite pipe tobacco, and got into that, and then got into cigars later after that, which I've just now finally increased my tolerance to it, because there for the longest time I would smoke half a cigar and be ill for the rest of the day.
Well, I'm going to tell a story, but you were a little funnier on that. Like, you would smoke a Maduro a heavy cigar, and you would just be just fine. It was cool as ice. I get you hooked up with a Connecticut or something midline, and that would make you sick, which is the total opposite happens with most people. So you...
Yeah, and then my favorite cigar is straight Ligero,
Yeah.
which that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, cane, straight Ligero.
That's my absolute favorite cigar. It's the cane nub straight Ligeros. And I'll be posting a video about that and that whole story. But man, I love those things.
Ligero is a part of the tobacco plant that's at the very top. It's a smaller, but it has a lot more nicotine and there's a little bit more strength in it. So a lot of times when they make a cigar, you got the outside, which is your wrapper. Then underneath the wrapper, there's a binder that holds the filler in. And so a lot of times in the filler, they'll put a Ligero leaf or two in there just to give it some kick. Now this particular cigar, it's made up of the wrapper is a San Andreas, Mexican San Andreas, which you either love a San Andreas or you don't. I happen to like San Andreas. It's a little bitter. Then the binder then is Honduran, and then the filler is all Nicaraguan. And so this comes from 3 separate places to make the one cigar, but it's blended in such a way that hopefully it's balanced, and so far it has a really good flavor to it. But the Ligero leaf is the most potent, and they don't put a lot of Ligero except in the cane.
The cane where it's nothing but
Ligero.
Yeah, it's crazy with when you talk about your story with pipes and cigar smoking, and then you have people like me that are getting into it. And where do you see the place of cigar smoking and pipe smoking in 2024, and how do you what are your thoughts on the resurgence of it with younger people?
Well, for me, and what I'm seeing, and what it's always been, I owned a coffee shop, so I've always been in the coffee, I've always been in the cigars. And for me, being able to sit down and just talk. Social media is fine. I'm not a big hater of social media, but it's really impersonal. But when you're able to sit down and you're able to enjoy a cigar, take a moment, take a break from time. Even social media, you don't really get a break or a rest. I mean, if you think about what we do when we go through social media, is we're scrolling and everything's flashy, and there's so many cutscenes, and there's so many different things that happen that raise your dopamine levels and stuff. And it really is exhausting being on social media, I think, just scrolling through. But being around people of different, thought process, different opinions, but agreeing that this is a good cup of coffee and this is a good cigar, and being relaxed, I think people are wanting that, and they're missing that. Mm-hmm. There's a human connection that happens with cigars and with coffee that I think a lot of people are missing. Starbucks, bless them in a way. They got the coffee scene going, but even that, so many people are just rushing in to stand in line and hurry up and get their coffee to leave. They forget the purpose of it really is just to be able to sit down in the shop, relax, and talk.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of that's missing, and especially as us as Christians, obviously your nickname's Pastor Patch. This gives you a really good opportunity to disconnect. It allows your mind to focus on something else, and you can think about the things of God. You can pray, and it just allows your mind to quiet down. Because like for someone like me who deals with like ADD, sometimes just sitting, my mind will start to wander, but this gives you something to focus on. And I think one of the funny things that people don't really talk about when it comes to pipe smoking is like, yes, it's very meditative, but the flavor is really cool. The ritual is really cool about it. You can sit there and think and pontificate on your own, but there's just something about the ritual of smoking a pipe or a cigar that, takes you back in time. And it's almost like you're sitting there with, Civil War generals while they're smoking their pipes and cigars and their meerschaums and their stogies and going over battle plans, or just sitting and thinking about how the battles went throughout the day. And it's a great escape from all the constant interaction and communication that everyone has. And with pipes and cigars, when you do have communication with people while you're smoking it, it allows it to be genuine. You take the phones away and it allows you to interact, and it goes along with the whole brotherhood of the leaf thing that people talk about. Now, with cigars and pipes and stuff, I know a lot of people really enjoy certain whiskeys, but you've really got me into coffee. What do you think is the relationship between coffee, pipes, and cigars?
Yeah, well, when you look at coffee, you can look it up, but there's a phrase called the bean band, and so it's basically your tropic zone, and it's north and south of the equator, and so around that area, this bean band is where all the coffee beans are grown. Well, I mean, so we all like Colombian, we like Sumatra, we like even some of the Ethiopian coffees and stuff. We drink a lot of that here in the States. Um, so they all grow in this area called the bean band. Well, if you overlay the tobacco band over the bean band, it's the same areas.
Mm-hmm.
So like I have a Sumatra blend that I have that matches Sumatra um, cigars. Well, they're both grown on the same place. They're both grown in Sumatra. The elevation's the same, the soil's the same. So when you're looking at tastes, you're going to come up with a pretty similar taste a lot of times by just matching your cigar, the origin, where the leaf comes at, versus where the coffee's grown. So that's really the relationship. They go hand in hand, because you're pulling out the flavors of the region in the leaf and in the coffee. Um, when you have a blend like this, where you got San Andreas from Mexico, Honduran, and Nicaraguan, it's a little harder to find all three.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I take a look at like the San Andreas, which is a Maduro. I've blended my coffee to help pull out some of the Maduro notes. So from a Maduro standpoint, you got pit fruit, baker's chocolate. Normally you'll have some kind of a hickory or some kind of a woodsy taste. And so my coffee is designed to do that. Versus say a Connecticut, like a broadleaf Connecticut. Now we used to grow Connecticut coffee here in Connecticut, right? And you got Connecticut shade and you got broadleaf Connecticut, but most of it is now still grown down in the temperate zone. But they still had the same flavors. So Connecticut, when it's grown, it has more nutty flavor. It's a little lighter, more nut. And so my coffee does that same thing, a little more floral in the taste. But it grows well down in the temperate zone. But that's also where all the leaves are grown, for that we use in tobacco.
And I feel like the two processes go along with each other. I mean, anyone can grab a vape pen from the gas station and a Monster energy drink and go about their day, but there's something about choosing a fine cigar, taking the time and choosing a fine coffee, and we're not talking about Folgers or Maxwell House. We're talking about good, fair trade, most of the time organic coffee that's quality, that's had someone to go through the beans, find good flavor profiles that work, and take the time to make sure they produce a good quality product versus low altitude burnt beans that are just, your goal is just mass quantities just for shipment processes.
Yeah, and that's what you find a lot in your store-bought is, like, again, I'm not trying to knock Starbucks, but they do a heavy roast. It's always a dark roast. That's mainly what they sell. But you got quality control over that. You burn the beans and you ship it, and every bean's burned and every burnt bean tastes the same. That's where you get your Folgers and stuff. I recommend trying to find a local coffee shop or local roaster and trying to hook up with them and then taste their stuff because it's different. Like in my espresso that we have here, right now this is whole bean, and so if you want to be a real coffee snob, start buying whole bean and grind it in the morning before you make your coffee. It makes a 100% difference in the way it tastes and the way you'll enjoy it. We live in a society right now that everything's instant gratification, so we want everything now. It all has to be now. You know, we want our coffee fast. We want our, like you said, our vape. So we want our nicotine fast. We want everything fast. But talking about the relationship, both these, coffee and cigars, if you do it right, it takes the time. But the time that is put into it, you get out of it in your pleasure and in the enjoyment of it. Because not everything has to be fast like we're so used to right now.
And it's just, if more people took time just to slow down and to enjoy things, then they wouldn't need so much, because people rush from thing to thing to thing, and then you have to have so many things occupying your mind and your life. I mean, that's why things like TikTok are so popular, because it's just flashy, 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 flashy.
It's constant dopamine hit.
It's just over and over again. And just kind of, like we've talked on here before about getting kind of back to the old ways of things. I know that sounds kind of cliche at this point, but it's like, read a paper book, brew some coffee over a fire or a stovetop, smoke a pipe or a cigar if you want to, walk to the mailbox instead of jumping in your zero turn or your buggy just to get up there and fast. Take time, because when you slow down, it allows you to realize more of the quality of life that we have, because people don't appreciate how good we have it right now. I mean, right now we're sitting here with clean clothes on, with full bellies, hot coffee, quality premium tobacco on a beautiful piece of land that we own, and not everyone in the world has that, and not everyone in America has always had that.
There used to be a time when people could sit on their front porch and whittle.
Yeah,
When's the last time you seen anybody whittle?
Right, just take a piece of wood and take your, little pocket knife and, whittle down either a little horse, or take a piece of wood and just, I never really thought about that, but yeah. I mean, just porches in general. I mean, I think I saw a post on Facebook saying in the 50s that people started taking porches off of houses because it was more cost effective. But the porch is the place where people can sit and talk. People, you would have the whole family out on the porch, and you'd have neighbors walking down the sidewalk, oh, hey, and they come in the yard and you talk, and people knew you were home, and they would come over and talk, and you get invited in, or you get invited to sit on the porch, and
and that's how people knew what was going on in their community.
Yeah, exactly. You had that communication, and then sometimes you would have the men sitting on the porch, and you'd be like, want a cup of coffee? Or your neighbor would sit down, you'd open a box of cigars, would you like a cigar? And you sit down and just talk, and people have lost that communication.
And that's going back to your first question. That's why it's so important that we, as men in particular, I think, sit down and enjoy a coffee together, enjoy a cigar or pipe together, because iron sharpens iron.
Mm-hmm.
And you were talking about Christianity earlier. I've had so many good, long discussions with atheists and of the like, but I was able to do it over a cigar or coffee. Didn't necessarily change their mind, but they were able to express their views. I was able to express my views. And in this world where you have to be against the other person's view, you have to win. And there's this idea that, Democrat, Republican, you have to win your argument, or, poor versus rich, or black versus white. You got to win this argument. There is no winning an argument when you're both enjoying some elements and you can just talk.
Right, and especially when you have very opposing viewpoints, having at least one quality thing in common allows you to have a lot less pretenses about the other person. I think in society, instead of people getting behind their podiums and debating, that more people need to get on their porches and tables and just talk about their differences. Now, especially in today's political climate, it's all gamed and it's all like a show to be that way, but regardless of the political situation that's going on in the world or in your country or wherever, it comes down to people, the citizens of the nation. How are we acting as people, and how are we interacting? Are we just constantly debating and arguing and just trying to prove it's right, or are we trying to find common ground and come peaceably with either a good pipe or cigar and talk?
And that's what it's about. I mean, you take a look. I guarantee you, anybody who's watching this, or anybody that you ever meet, simple. Do you want to have food? You want to have a family and be protected? Yeah. Do you want to have a job that can make money and be self-sufficient or self-supporting? Yeah. Well, I mean, there's your starting ground. Everybody wants that. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to have security, a family, some food, housing, clothing. These are the basic necessities that everybody wants. Mm-hmm. How we get there, we can argue about. But when you find your common ground, then you can work from there. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's just kind of interesting. But you find that, I think, more easily discussable when you do have, like you said, elements that bring you together.
Now, going into this last point, and everyone knows on here that thanks to the American Health Society and all those people, that tobacco is a really, really bad rap. And that might stop a lot of people from either wanting to get into pipes and cigars, because, you know, it's not so bad here in America. Because I know, where'd that tin go? I know over in England, like if you have a can of pipe tobacco, literally the whole bottom is a nicotine warning with images of people with throat cancer and stuff. So that might scare a lot of people from wanting to get into this. So what would your words of encouragement be to this younger generation or to new cigar and pipe smokers to encourage them to possibly try a cigar or a good pipe?
Sure. There's been a recent study out by is it CDC? Yeah. That did a study about cigar smoking and pipe smoking versus your cigarette smoking. Now, of course, you can never do it. If you smoke, like George Burns, I think he said he smoked 12 cigars a day or something crazy.
I smoke 12 cigars a day.
Yeah.
My doctor is dead.
Yeah, that's what he said. He said his doctor recommended that he stop smoking that many cigars, and they said, "Did you do that?" And he goes, "No." And he said, "What did your doctor say?" He said, "Well, I don't know." He said, "He died before me." So, nicotine, it's a natural thing. It doesn't have negative effects. Cigars and pipes, you don't inhale. If you try to inhale it, you'll probably die. You'll just choke to death. With moderation, the health effects by several different studies show that these are different. One of the things that is different with this than a cigarette is a cigarette has additives in it that make it more addictive, but they're also cancer causing.
Yeah, propellants and things to make it burn evenly.
Even within the filters. These are not a real cigar. Doesn't have a filter. It is all natural leaf. You can have short filler or long filler, but altogether it's just a cigar. Now there's a difference between regular cigars and flavored cigars, because if you have flavored cigars, then they add stuff into it to make it taste like a cigar should not taste like grape. It's not natural. Or peach or anything like that. A cigar should taste like the tobacco and a blend that the tobacco comes from. Now there's different ways to cure makes it taste differently or infuse, but that's really the big difference. So having a cigar even once a day, and according to the study, didn't really show any real super negative effects as far as that's all concerned.
Yeah, I normally try to keep mine to like 3 a day. Also, so 3 pipes. I don't know if I could survive 3 cigars in one day. I think the most I've ever done was maybe 2 in a day. Because anything other than that, it's either just too time consuming, because I don't have, unless I'm working outside all day, and even that, you just get sick after a while, but I can only handle about 3.
Well, yesterday, the group I belong to the Ohio Cigar Mafia. You can check us out online. One of the main things that we're a cigar company, or a cigar club, but we're really pushing for, our main goal is to help Dogs Inc., which gets dogs for veterans. It's free to the veteran. They're based out of Florida. Takes about $50,000 for each dog to get trained and then matched up with the vet, a veteran that needs the help. Then that whole entire time they feed and they pay all the vet bills, so there's no cost to the veteran. Just a shameless plug of the club it is.
There you go.
But yesterday we were up at a Harley rally raising money up, and I smoked 4 cigars yesterday.
That's not too bad. I mean, I've heard people say, like, during a trade show, I'll smoke 13 cigars.
It's possible.
It's like that.
It's possible.
But as far as like people wanting to get into it that have never been around it, or they have a negative mindset going into it because they've only ever been around cigarette smokers, what words of encouragement would you have for people getting into it?
Getting into it, I would go to your local humidor, and just ask if they're running a proper business, which I have not seen yet, but only one business that I thought was a little shady, and they're going to go out of business here pretty soon because of their shadiness. But the majority of them, they're excited. They're excited when somebody is looking into it. They'll try to steer you in a good direction. Lighter cigars.
Mm-hmm.
They'll try to give you the education that you need on hand to make it enjoyable. Because again, I mean, this is a business.
Yes.
And so of course the people who run the humidors, they want you to be a return customer. So they want to give you the most pleasant experience. Online, there's tons of different cigar clubs. Like I said, the Ohio Cigar Club, you can, the Ohio Cigar Mafia, you can look us up. You can join us. Just understand that we're not only a cigar club, but our main focus is to help the veterans. But join a club. Social media is really great for that. Like our club, we have Zooms that we have almost every night. So anybody has got time, they can jump on, and we'll all just sit around and talk, which is really helpful. But that's what I would do. Now, if you're apprehensive about it, do some more research. Look at some of the studies that I was telling you about as far as the health. Again, you can overdo it. I think if you smoke like George Burns did, or you're just constantly chain smoking cigars, there's two problems with that. Number one, I don't know how healthy that would be, right? But because you're just overloading yourself with the nicotine and such. But the other thing is you're not enjoying. It's not a separate thing. It's not something that you're taking the time to sit down and enjoy. You're just chain smoking it. And part of the pleasure of smoking a cigar and drinking coffee is that you're actually sitting down, taking time, breathing, enjoying the different flavors, seeing how the flavors hit your mouth, what notes you're getting. Chain smoking a cigar, I mean, it doesn't really do you much.
No, and if you're curious about what you should get, if you go into your local humidor, and especially now, there's so many cheaper cigars, like factory smokes. If you want a good cigar that if you hate it and you're not going to regret throwing it out the window or throw it in the trash, Factory Smokes has actually some really good cigars.
Yeah, Factory Smokes is made by Drew Estates. Now they have short filler. So when Drew Estates makes their regular cigar, they cut off the ends to make it all uniform. So they're all 6 inches long or whatever the length is going to be. The ends that they chop off, they gather them up together, and then they roll them into this brand this kind that they call Factory Smokes. It's short filler, but you're still getting premium tobacco, just in just packed together. So like mine, if we didn't have the wind, I could probably have an ash that's 1 to 2 inches longer on the end of my cigar. With a short filler, it just falls right off as you go, but you still get that taste. If you're brand new and you want to start out find something that's Connecticut. Connecticut is a little lighter. I like Blackbird Connecticut, and Blackbird is a brand. Blackbird Connecticut's really good. It's really a docile as far as with the nicotine and with the flavor. But then you can work yourself all the way up to, like what I'm smoking is a San Andreas, which is really heavy.
And as far as pipes go, if you go into any, unfortunately around us, it seems like every place that has cigars and stuff is just full of weed product. I mean, if that's what you're into, that's fine, but we don't have any good quality humidors, which are specifically for cigars and pipes. But if you go into any of those type of stores that sells vapes or cigarettes, normally you'll see pouches of Borkum Riff, of Prince Albert, Carter Hall, stuff like that. If you just pick up a pouch of that and buy you one of the cheapy little corncob pipes and a lighter, at least that gets your toe into the water for pipes without busting the bank, because these get really expensive. The pipe tobacco overall is more economical, because how much was that, you think?
This will be a $10 stick is what
this
they're
is
planning.
$10 stick, and this is a $20 can, and I can get several smokes out of this. When that thing's gone, it's gone. On the other hand, that's a $10 stick, and this is like a $150 pipe. So it's just pick and choose.
Yeah, and I had something to say about that. And of course there's a big difference. If you are a bourbon drinker, right, there's a difference between
Scotch and bourbon.
Well, no. I was thinking of I lost my train of thought, but I was thinking like a cheaper one, like a Wild Turkey.
Yeah, there's a difference between Canadian Club and Blanton's.
That's it. There's a difference between Canadian Club and Blanton's, and as you go up on the price, it's more quality, and that's really what happens with your cigars and
Yeah.
with your pipes. As you mature and you grow into it and you get the more taste of it, you'll find out that a $3 cigar won't quite cut it like a $10 one will.
Yeah, the same thing with pipe tobacco. There's like a pack of Borkum Riff is not going to come anywhere close to, say, a can of Three Nuns or H.H. Mac Baron Burley Flake, which is probably one of my favorite Burleys. So anyway, we're getting to about the half-hour mark, so we're going to finish off my bowl. He's going to finish off a cigar. Is there any closing comments you have for everyone on the channel?
Not really, just you know, I always say stay smoky, you know. So yeah, just sit down and enjoy life. You know, we're in a rat race, and it ought not to be that way.
No.
You know, for me, the world right now, they're running us in fear, and all the propaganda, everything is just to make you fearful. And if you're fearful, you can't think. And if you can't think, then they can control you. But sitting down with a nice cup of coffee, a pipe, a cigar, talking to your brothers, and being able to not be running in fear, but to actually be bold by sharpening iron, and sitting down. And of course, I believe that if you have faith in God and Jesus, then there's going to be a peace that happens that's beyond all understanding, even in times of storm. So, but you get all that if you just slow up, slow down, and think about what you do rather than just being manipulated.
Cool. Well, like I said, I just want to thank everyone for tuning in. I want to thank you for all the new subscribers, for jumping on the channel. It really means a lot to me. I never thought this channel would get, I mean, I know I'm a small fish in this pond, but I never thought this channel would get above 300 subscribers. Now we're getting close to 1,000. So I want to thank my father-in-law, Larry Parker, aka Pastor Patch, for being on here. And
Appreciate it.
y'all enjoy your weekend. Take it easy.